Seats, $30 tickets. No ranking points. No trophy on the line. And yet, every seat inside Arthur Ashe Stadium is reportedly gone. Days before a single ball is struck in Thursday's one-set exhibition, the demand has already become one of the biggest stories surrounding U.S. Open Fan Week. And at the center of it all is Alex Eala. What happened to those original $30 tickets in the resale market is where this story gets even more interesting. Let's rewind to Monday, August 24th. The new WTA rankings were released, and Eala officially reached a new career high at world number 18. Then, just one day later, she stepped onto a U.S. Open show court alongside Felix Auger-Aliassime for mixed doubles and delivered another statement, winning the opening round 6-2, 6-1. Within that same short window, organizers were watching Arthur Ashe Stadium fill up for an exhibition event where nobody would receive ranking points and nobody would leave with a tournament trophy. That was not exactly what the USTA expected. The event, Stars of the Open, was designed as a relaxed fan week attraction, a chance for fans to see major young stars before the actual U.S. Open competition begins. The formula was simple. For headliners, a $30 starting price, and proceeds going toward the USTA Foundation. The lineup included Fonseca, Tien, Jovic, and Eala, 3 Americans, 1 Filipina, and Eala became the only non-American woman featured as a headliner on the card. The organizers clearly believed she could help sell the event. What they may not have anticipated was just how aggressively her fan base would respond. According to marketplace figures circulated in Filipino sports coverage, resale prices reportedly climbed toward $140, more than 4 times the original starting price. The cheapest seats disappeared first. And suddenly, the difference between the official ticket price and the resale price became part of the story itself. The USTA set the starting price. Alex Eala supporters established a market value. According to the USDA's published event information, Stars of the Open was scheduled for Thursday, August 27th at 6 p.m. Eastern inside Arthur Ashe Stadium, with entry starting at $30. That pricing made sense. This was Fan Week. The goal was accessibility to give families and tennis fans an affordable opportunity to experience the atmosphere of a Grand Slam before the main draw begins. But once Filipino fans realized Eala was going to be one of the featured names, demand took off. By the week of August 18th, reports of the event being sold out were already circulating through Filipino tennis communities and sports media. Think about what that means. Arthur Ashe Stadium can hold more than 23,000 spectators. That's the equivalent of filling a small city just to watch an exhibition. No ranking points. No championship trophy. No traditional tournament stakes. Just one evening of tennis and the opportunity to watch a 20-year-old Filipino star perform on the biggest stage of her career. That is why this is bigger than a simple sellout. It is a market signal. And Filipino fans deserve a lot of credit for recognizing Eala's momentum before the broader tennis conversation fully caught up. While some mainstream coverage continued to describe her primarily as a promising young prospect, Filipino supporters were already treating her like a genuine headliner. And the numbers from the past few months help explain why. Look at the trajectory. Earlier in August, Eala captured her first WTA Tour title in Washington, defeating world number 3 Jessica Pegula in the final. Then came the rise up the rankings. Then Cincinnati. Then New York. And now, Arthur Ashe Stadium. One breakthrough after another. The pattern has been remarkably consistent. First came the title. Then came the career-high ranking. And now comes a sold-out appearance at one of the most iconic venues in tennis. That's not just hype. That's momentum. But there's another layer to the story. Because the most important question isn't simply how many tickets were sold. It's what this demand says about Alex Eala's place in the sport. And that is where the story gets even more interesting. The player standing across the net from Alex Eala on Thursday night isn't a stranger. It's Iva Jovic, an 18-year-old American who reached a career-high ranking of number 14 in the same August 24th rankings and entered the U.S. Open as a seeded player. More importantly, Jovic is one of Eala's close friends on tour. The two have even celebrated a recent birthday together alongside Eva Lies and Zeynep Sonmez. But friendship goes out the window once the match begins, because Jovic has already beaten Eala twice in 2026. First came Roland Garros, where Jovic won 6-4, 6-4 in the opening round. Then came Queens, where she dominated their second meeting 6-2, 6-2. So Thursday isn't simply an exhibition. It's a rematch, a third meeting between two friends, with Eala carrying two losses into the matchup in a packed Arthur Ashe Stadium waiting to see whether she can finally change the story. And then there's Felix Auger-Aliassime. The Canadian is a current ATP Top 10 player, a 2025 U.S. Open semifinalist, and one of the most experienced players on the mixed doubles team. He's also not exactly known for exaggerating. Felix has built a reputation as measured, calm, and careful with his words. So when he describes something as exciting, people pay attention. During his Cincinnati media availability ahead of the U.S. Open, Auger-Aliassime spoke enthusiastically about partnering with Eala in mixed doubles. He described the combination as electric and said he was genuinely excited about the partnership. Those comments carry weight. This isn't a casual endorsement from someone looking for a headline. It's a top-level Grand Slam veteran publicly embracing the energy and potential of a young player who is rapidly becoming one of the most talked-about names in women's tennis. And the institutional endorsement is even bigger. The USTA gave Eala one of only 4 headliner spots on the Stars of the Open card. For a non-American player at the U.S. Open, that's a significant vote of confidence. She earned the opportunity. The USTA gave her the platform, and then the ticket market responded. Now zoom out. Arthur Ashe Stadium holds more than 23,000 fans, and Fan Week has a history of putting emerging stars in front of massive audiences before they become the defining stories of the tournament itself. Emma Raducanu is one example. She appeared in the Stars of the Open event in 2021 before going on to win the U.S. Open just weeks after arriving as a qualifier. Now Eala is stepping into that same spotlight, and she's doing it as a trailblazer. She is being positioned as the first Southeast Asian woman to receive this kind of headline billing at the world's largest tennis stadium, and the first Filipina to occupy this particular stage as a featured attraction. That matters beyond one exhibition, because this isn't only about what happens Thursday night. The U.S. Open singles draw begins just days later, with Eala entering the tournament as the number 17 seed, while her mixed doubles campaign with Auger-Aliassime is already underway. 2 competitions, 1 Grand Slam, 1 player at the center of both storylines. And back in the Philippines, the demand is spreading in the opposite direction. The Philippine Women's Open at the WTA 125 level has already seen strong demand for its semifinal and final sessions, with reports of those sessions selling out early. Manila is buying tickets. New York is buying tickets. And the common denominator is Alex Eala. That is the bigger trend here. Her popularity is no longer confined to one country or one tournament. It is becoming a transcontinental phenomenon. But Eala's rise hasn't been a straight line. Just 8 days before this Arthur Ashe sellout story took shape, she walked off the court in Cincinnati after losing to Amanda Anisimova 4-6, 6-4, 6-2. Eala had taken the opening set, but then lost momentum dramatically, dropping 10 of the final 12 games. It was a difficult loss against one of the hottest players in women's tennis. Yet Eala didn't spend the following week trying to rewrite that defeat. She moved forward. She traveled to New York, returned to Wake, and continued preparing for the biggest stage of the season. That mentality is reflected in 2 phrases she has shared with Filipino supporters: Kapag lumago, hindi nahihinto. Once growth begins, it doesn't stop, and wag magduda. Don't doubt. 8 days later, the picture looked completely different. A career-high ranking, a dominant mixed doubles victory, a sold-out Arthur Ashe Stadium, and a rematch against a player who has already beaten her twice this season. That's an extraordinary amount of momentum packed into a single week. So Thursday night becomes more than an exhibition. It's Eala's opportunity to turn 2 previous losses to Jovic into the beginning of a different chapter. Will she finally beat her friend under the lights of Arthur Ashe? Or will Jovic make it 3 straight victories in their 2026 rivalry? That's the question. And with more than 23,000 fans expected inside the stadium, the atmosphere could become a story of its own. So pick your side. Eala or Jovic? Drop your prediction in the comments, and if you have a score in mind, post that too. Because when the first ball is struck, we'll find out whether Arthur Ashe becomes a stage where Alex Eala finally flips the script.